Hope you enjoy listening. I just got out of the delivery room and my mother-in-law told me that my husband was having an affair. She advised me not to let him off easily, to make him leave empty-handed and not to let my child follow him. She also encouraged me that even if I were a single mother, I could still live well, and that she would stay and take care of me and my child. If I hadn't lived again, I might have truly believed that my mother-in-law was a good person. When my mother-in-law pulled me back, looking mysterious and wanting to talk to me privately, I immediately knew for sure that I had been reborn. Sure enough, she lowered her head and whispered in my ear in the same sad voice as in my previous life. Hugh, I found out that Jia Duong said he was having an affair. Before I could react, she quickly comforted me. I know you are a good daughter. Even though you are not my biological child in my heart, you are more important than my biological son. Divorce Jia Duong, I will stand by you. Mom will help you take care of you. After the divorce, you can go to work with peace of mind. Mom will take care of the house. While talking, she acted he pretended to comfort her. Jia Duong is sorry to you, Mom will make it up to him. In my previous life, when I heard my mother-in-law say that my husband was having an affair, I felt like I was being judged in the middle of a clear sky. I am an orphan, and everything I have today is due to my own efforts. Luke Jia Duong and I came together because we were on the same page, but who would have thought that right after giving birth we would discover such a shocking thing? Calming down, I listened to my mother-in-law and decided to divorce. Children under 2 years old are not given to their fathers by law, so I easily took the child away. After being discharged from the hospital, I took my mother-in-law back to the house I bought before getting married. She really took good care of my son as she promised. Even after Luke Jia Duong remarried, my mother-in-law never interfered. On the contrary, she always comforted me, afraid that I would be sad and miserable. At that time, I was deeply moved and would treat her as my own mother and be filial. Later, my mother-in-law became seriously ill and had to be hospitalized for half a year. During the day, I hired someone to take care of her, and at night I stayed up all night to watch over her. In order to help her eat more, I changed the dishes every day and cooked many different dishes. Half a year passed and my colleagues all said I looked like I had aged 10 years. But my mother-in-law praised me for being more filial than her own child, and she put on a brave face. I became a filial daughter-in-law that everyone admired. But it wasn't until 18 years later, when my son was admitted to a top university in the country, that I discovered it was all an act. That day my ex-husband, whom I hadn't seen for 18 years, suddenly appeared in the bedroom with a woman dressed elegantly and gracefully. My son, who had just been acting spoiled in my arms, immediately ran to hug that woman, sweetly calling her mom, and when he turned around, he scolded me without mercy. Do you really think that an ugly old woman like you can give birth to an excellent child like me? Dragons beget dragons, phoenixes beget phoenixes. Your own biological child must be hiding somewhere. I am completely bewildered, unable to understand how the child I raised carefully for 18 years could be like this. To be honest, I never liked her. Damn old woman, if she dies soon, the savings in the house will belong to our whole family. I once confiscated her phone because I wanted her to do well in school. I didn't let him fall in love early because I didn't want him to go astray. I didn't expect that all the things I did for him would become the reason why he resented me. The woman listened to her gracefully and then stroked her son's head, speaking softly. Mom bought you the newest phone, you can play with it as long as you want. My son is so handsome. Love whoever you want. Mom will always support you. After hearing that, my son was even more touched, and kept saying sweet words to her. Lu Jiayong's mother-in-law stood there smiling with satisfaction at the scene of mother and son getting along, then turned to look at me, her face full of malice. Hui, thank you so much for raising Jiayong and Jiao Jiao's son so well. Only then did I realize that my biological son had been exchanged by this family 18 years ago. The child I had devoted myself to raising for 18 years was actually another woman's child. As for my child, they sold me when I was born. In the end, I was pushed down from a high floor. When the police investigated, the child I raised insisted that I committed suicide because of depression. I had just come back to my senses when I saw my mother-in-law looking at me suspiciously. Hugh, I'm talking to you, why are you in a daze? I tried to look sad, forcing a smile that was uglier than crying. Mom, I want to think it over. Perhaps Jia Duong just made a mistake. The mother-in-law was immediately agitated after hearing this. Hugh, don't forgive that bastard Jia just to save face for me. Speaking of adultery, I absolutely cannot ignore it. I started sobbing softly, looking as if my heart was deeply hurt. Mom, can you let me calm down a bit? After all, Jia and I were once truly in love. Hearing me sound gentle, my mother-in-law immediately became happy. Okay, think carefully. Don't ruin your whole life because of that little feeling. While we were talking, my mother-in-law's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and immediately went outside to answer the call. Looking at her furtive expression, I didn't need to guess who was calling. I tried to avoid the pain from the surgery, and I crept closer to the door to listen to the phone call between my mother-in-law and my husband, Luke Jia Duong. Jia, don't worry, with me involved, I will definitely get you a divorce. Just live happily with Kyo. I will take care of everything. Tran Hugh is really stupid. Just saying that she wants to go home to take care of her grandchild will make her move to tears. Mom will bring Tran Hugh's child to you later. Do whatever you want with it. All newborn babies are the same, she definitely won't notice. Of course, my eldest grandson. I must take care of him myself. It's normal for him to bleed a lot after being pressed down. That heartless woman Tran Hugh didn't react at all. She definitely doesn't truly love you. Okay, I know. In the future, I still have to rely on him to earn money to support my nephew. How can I let him die? Hearing the poisonous words coming from my mother-in-law's mouth, I just wanted to die with them immediately. But I still have my child, an innocent child. This time I must protect my child at all costs. Seeing that my mother-in-law was about to finish the call, I quickly endured the pain and left to return to the hospital bed. As soon as I lay down, she walked in. Seeing my face pale from touching the surgical wound, her eyes lit up with satisfaction. Hugh, think carefully about the divorce. I am also a woman. I understand how painful it is to be betrayed. Looking at that fake face, I just felt disgusted all over. But in order not to reveal it, I still nodded. I will think carefully, then tell you again. She pretended to pet the child, deliberately making him cry, then hurriedly put the child in a basket. Let your mother-in-law do it, you can rest assured I have experience. Crying children affect your rest, the mother will go out and put the basket in the basket and then bring it back to you. Without waiting for me to nod, my mother-in-law took the child and left. Looking at her hurried appearance, I knew that she had already prepared a plan to switch the child. Looking at her eager back, I curled my lips and picked up the phone to call my best friend who worked in this hospital. Hello, my child was taken away by someone else. After hearing the whole story, my friend banged the table and promised to help me swap the child immediately. Remember not to let anyone find out. I carefully instructed him because I wanted the whole family to bear the consequences. My friend immediately understood. Before they could take the baby to the traffickers, she promptly exchanged the baby for me. This time it was Lu Jiang himself who would sell the crystallization of his love for Chow Chow. As soon as she was discharged from the hospital, my mother-in-law took the baby with her and followed me home, her face beaming as if she was about to receive good fortune. Yes, enjoy happiness. But that was in the previous life. In this life, she can't even dream of it. In my previous life, my mother-in-law took the initiative to come home to take care of me during my confinement period, but I couldn't bear to let her serve me, so I spent more than 10 million to hire a professional nurse. My mother-in-law only needed to play with the children. When she came home and lay down on the sofa to rest, I immediately opened my mouth. Mom, I guess I'll have to bother you to take care of me during my confinement period this time. My mother-in-law was clearly treating me like a spoiled brat, but I didn't expect her to take the initiative to ask her to stay and take care of me after giving birth. After all, we had already agreed that I would hire a nurse to come to my house to take care of me during my confinement period. Without waiting for her to speak, I immediately continued what I had prepared. There will be many expenses in the future, so you should save whatever you can. Raising children is very expensive, Mom. Food, clothing, and transportation all cost money. In order for you to have a better life in the future, please take care of me this time. Having said this, even if mother-in-law is unwilling, she can only nod. After all, the money saved is for her eldest grandson. She is overjoyed. Seeing her agree so decisively, I couldn't help but laugh coldly. Mom, I peed, please change my diaper. Mom, please cook me some nutritious food and heat up some soup, rib soup or chicken soup. Otherwise I won't have any milk. What if your baby is hungry? Mom, I'm crying again. Please check what's wrong with me. Mom, I'm allergic to paper weights. Don't be lazy and use paper weights. There are already a few in the bathroom. Remember to snatch them. Only 3 days had passed, and my mother-in-law was so tired that her eyes were dark and her soul was lost. On the morning of the 4th day, she came to me in a low voice to negotiate. Hugh, how about, let's hire a nurse. Mom is old, can't handle it, I'm afraid I can't take good care of you and me. Hearing her say that, I looked very hesitant, but hiring a nurse for a month is more than 10 million. If that amount of money is saved for the child, he will definitely be more successful in the future. Mother-in-law's face changed immediately, but she had been sleepless and tired for the past few days, so she had to give up. Or should we hire a cheaper one? Mom heard that there are some nurses who can do the job for just a few million. Haven't you seen the news? There was a young couple who hired a cheap nurse because they wanted to save money. The result was that she was only busy playing with her phone, letting the child roll off the bed without realizing it, and almost lost his life. Mom. As I spoke, I showed my mother-in-law the screenshot of the news that I had saved. Seeing that it was true, my mother-in-law immediately gave up the idea of hiring a nurse. My family had to take care of my children for me to feel secure. My mother-in-law wouldn't believe it. Hugh, I won't hire a nurse anymore. Looking at my mother-in-law's loving eyes as she looked at the child, my heart turned cold. In my previous life I was so stupid. I didn't even think about why my mother-in-law would abandon her own son to follow me. After all, before we got married, she had criticized me for being an orphan, without a maternal family to support Luke Jia-duong. Now that I think about it, it was all because she wanted me to raise Luke Jia-duong and Chu Tam's illegitimate child. She had achieved her goal in her previous life. As for this life, I wonder how interesting Lu Jiayong will look when he finds out that he sold his own child. The confinement period passed very quickly. During that time, Lu Jiayong did not visit me even once, as if this child was not born by him. He finally showed up when I had just finished giving birth. And he came with divorce papers. All the marital assets belonged to me. She left empty-handed. During the confinement period, my mother-in-law took advantage of her time to whisper to me about this matter. And now I did exactly as she wanted. However, Lu Jiayong immediately jumped up. Based on what? What right do you have to demand all of my marital assets? The money he worked so hard to earn, why should an ugly old woman like me enjoy it? Seeing Lu Jiayong's appearance, his mother quickly winked and signaled him to agree first. Mother-in-law had already thought of a plan, calculating how to get that money back. In the previous life, out of respect for our past, I didn't let Luke Jia-duong leave empty-handed, and even left him a car in his name. But in this life, don't even dream of getting a single penny. Mother and son understood each other with just a glance. Lu Jiayong immediately forced himself to nod in agreement. I left empty-handed, don't even think about asking me to provide child support in the future. Fine, I don't need child support either, you don't have the money to do it anyway. Lu Jiayong is a good-for-nothing type of person, he's not capable of doing good jobs, and he looks down on ordinary jobs and doesn't want to accept them. After living together for so many years, he was either changing jobs or thinking about changing jobs. Sometimes he had to rely on the money I gave him to make ends meet. After getting married, he seemed more energetic, but that was only because there was a new receptionist at the company who dressed elegantly. In order to see her every day, Lu Jiayong started to show diligence. Luke Jia-duong was so angry that her eyes widened. She was at a loss for words but couldn't find any words to refute. Looking at his crazy appearance, I just felt sick because I was so blind that I had chosen this man. Other than his slightly good-looking face, Luke Jia-duong had nothing worth me regretting. Looking at his face twisted with anger, I opened my mouth to continue. Child support money, you have to transfer bullets every month, not much, 2 million a month. What? Tran Hugh, you are such a greedy woman. What do you mean? Are you deliberately asking for more money to prolong the divorce? Lu Jiayong was really going crazy. He subconsciously turned to look at his mother, wanting to ask what was going on. Didn't they already agree before? Mom would be the one to stand in the middle and advise me to get a divorce, but now she's asking for child support? The mother-in-law was also surprised by this turn of events, and said hesitantly, Hui, Jiayong already agreed to leave empty-handed. Why do you still make her send child support every month? Isn't that too much? 2 million a month, although it's not a huge amount, but for the mother and son it's really unbearable to be broke. I couldn't help but laugh coldly. No need for tomorrow. Didn't you say that from now on, there will be no more sons, only me as a daughter? As soon as she finished speaking, my mother-in-law was speechless, not daring to defend her son any further. I laughed coldly in my heart, but on the outside I calmly explained, Mom, this allowance is not for me, but to raise your eldest grandson. Since birth I have been divorced with 3 children. My feelings are already lacking. Should I let my child suffer material deprivation as well? From food, clothing, education to gifted classes, everything needs money. How can I take care of everything by myself? Should my child be at a disadvantage compared to his friends from the beginning? But is it really that much? Mother-in-law still seemed hesitant. In order to get money to raise a child from a stingy person like Luke Jia-duong, I did not hesitate to explain again, my tone full of determination. Later, your child will have to take the entrance exam to Tan Hoa and Bac Dai, the top universities in the country. You must teach him from a young age, not to lack in any aspect, morality, intelligence, body, beauty, and hard work. Seeing that the two of them were starting to waver, I coldly added another sentence to conclude. If you don't want a divorce, that's fine. If you continue living like this, all the salary you earn will be spent on my son. No, Luke Jia-duong was the first to object. He was still looking forward to divorcing this ugly old woman so he could register his marriage with his precious baby. Then he would agree. My mother-in-law was moved by what I said and immediately made up her mind. Jia Yang, remember to send money on time in the future. That is your biological child. The 3 words biological child were emphasized by her with hidden meaning, and Lu Jiayang immediately understood what his mother meant. Thinking about someone volunteering to help him raise a child, the little bit of discomfort in Lu Jiayang's heart also disappeared. Only 2 million a month, still within his ability to pay. After all, his son will have to go to Tsinghua or Bodai in the future, so investing from a young age is the right thing to do, and you can earn several times more later. After confirming the divorce terms and waiting for the time to think it over, Lu Jiayang and I officially received the divorce certificate. Escaped from a bad man, still had children, mother-in-law as a free nanny. This deal was really good. After the month, I went back to work. Life was both fulfilling and happy. With my mother-in-law taking care of my own child at home, I feel completely secure. I myself cannot bear to see my grandchild in need. But my mother-in-law still misses the money I got after the divorce. Hugh, your friend's son works at a bank and recently there is a new financial product that is very profitable. Why don't you transfer me the money you got from the divorce so I can help you buy a financial product? Invest to get a profit. I don't mind my mother-in-law's tricks. Mom, don't let your friend trick you into helping her child meet her sales target. Ordinary people like us don't understand investment products. If we lose, we'll lose a lot of money. Why don't you give me your savings book to keep? I'm keeping you, Mom. When your friend's son saw that you were getting old, he bought some random things and ended up losing all your pension money. In my mother-in-law's impression, I've always been easygoing and reasonable. This time when she heard me say that, she immediately got angry. Are you still eyeing the money in my pocket? Hearing my mother-in-law say such harsh words, I immediately felt wronged. Mom, what do you mean by that? I was just worried that you were being cheated, so I kindly reminded you. Could it be that in your heart, you have never considered me as your own daughter? I have always considered you as my own mother. Seeing that I was a monkey, my mother-in-law suddenly realized her mistake and quickly took a step back, afraid of revealing her true intentions. I don't have any other intentions. If you want to keep the money yourself, then keep it. The first plan failed, and my mother-in-law started a new act. From complaining about back pain to leg pain, every time I got off work, she would leave me lying alone on the bed, complaining non-stop. Her intention was clearly to imply that she was tired and uncomfortable, and wanted me to give her money to go see a doctor. Mom, if you don't feel well these days, let me call Luke Jia-duong to take you to see a doctor. As for me, I will ask for leave to stay at my husband's house. How ridiculous! My mother-in-law did not give birth to me, nor did she raise me, and on top of that, she still plotted against my child, and yet she still wants to get money from me. She must be daydreaming. Besides, Luke Jia-duong is her biological son, alive and well. Why is it my turn, an ex-daughter-in-law, to spend money and effort? Mother-in-law sniffed. Son, aren't you going to take me? The child is still young, not long after birth, when his resistance is at its weakest. If I go to the hospital with you and catch some virus and pass it on to the baby, what will I do? For the sake of my baby's health, I'll have to apologize to you this time. If you're not feeling well, I'll call Luke Jia-duong to take you to the doctor. Even though he and I are divorced, he's still your biological son. You've raised him for decades. Can't you take care of him now? As I spoke, I picked up the phone and prepared to call Lu Jiayong, but my mother-in-law quickly stopped me. My back pain was gone immediately, and my legs weren't tired anymore. I jumped up from the sofa and ran into the room to pick up my grandchild to comfort him. These were just old illnesses, not worth spending money on to see a doctor. I'll save that money for my eldest grandson to use in the future. Even though this incident had passed, my mother-in-law's attitude was still full of calculation. Her eyes kept darting around, not knowing what she was thinking about. Thinking of her shamelessness, I opened the safe, took out my bank card, and went straight to the bank to transfer all the money divided after the divorce to my son's name. After finishing, I deliberately showed my mother-in-law a look, emphasizing that this money would be used for my son's future education. The mother-in-law's face was extremely complicated. After being distorted with unwillingness, she had no choice but to give in. After all, she had said it herself, this money was for her beloved grandson to use. That night, I heard my mother-in-law calling and arguing loudly with Luke Jia-duong. I had secretly installed a surveillance camera in the living room a long time ago. Now I was sitting on the bed, leisurely watching the mother and daughter fight. Lu Jiayong roared angrily. If it wasn't for Mom setting that up, how could I have left empty-handed? It was all because Mom kept jumping in Tran Hu's ears, making her think it was real. Otherwise, I would have at least gotten half of the marital assets. Mother-in-law was also furious. If it wasn't because you insisted on a divorce, why would I think of such a way? Now you're blaming me? On the other end of the line, Luke Jia-duong didn't let up. I told Xiao Xiao clearly that as long as I had that amount of money, I would take her to buy a diamond ring and wedding gold. Now that I have no money, what if she gets angry? Mom, Xiao Xiao even gave birth to a grandson for you. You can't just abandon her like that. In the end, the mother-in-law relented. Okay, I'll think of a way to help you. Unable to get money from me, she had no choice but to take her own savings and give it to Luke Jia-duong. After that incident, my mother-in-law temporarily settled down, no longer being miserable every day, and focused on staying home to take care of her grandchild. But every few months, she would find an excuse to take my child out to see Luke Jia-duong, saying that it was to give my child a father's love. In reality, she was showing my child to the two of them, trying to create a sense of intimacy, wanting my child to accept them as parents. But they were too disappointed. That was my biological son. How could they accept those two as their parents? 18 years passed under my guidance. My son grew up to be both intelligent and handsome, with excellent academic performance. After the university entrance exam, he was accepted by both Tsinghua and Peking University. Finally, after discussing with me, he chose to study at Tsinghua University. On the day of the college entrance exam celebration, Lu Jiayong, my ex-husband whom I had not seen for 18 years, suddenly appeared with Xiao Xiao, whom he had been talking about all the time. After 18 years, I once again faced these two people. But this time, Xiao Xiao no longer had the traces of aging on her face, and she looked visibly older. As for me, over the years my career has developed, I have spared no expense in taking care of myself. I still look like I am in my early 30s. From appearance to charisma, I am far superior to those two. Kyo excitedly waved her hand towards my child. Son, Mom is here. But the reality was not like what Xiao Xiao had imagined. There was no scene of mother and son recognizing each other, hugging each other and crying. My son just stood there calmly, looking at Xiao Xiao as if he was looking at an idiot. Xiao Xiao didn't understand what was going on, and was still excitedly spreading her arms wide, waiting for her son to jump into her arms. Son, why didn't you come running over? Is it because you're too emotional? It's okay, Mom is here. Today is an important day in your life. How can Mom be absent? Lu Jiayong was also beside her, thinking that her son was just standing there not reacting because he was too nervous. That's right, son, quickly call me. This is your real mother. Tran Hu is not your real mother. The guests I invited were all shocked, looking at the chaotic scene before them with evil eyes. The one here is my mother, what are you just claiming? My son coldly opened his mouth, obviously not wanting to waste words with the two people in front of him. Chow Chow was stunned on the spot, and started screaming like crazy. Son, I am your real mother. Were you incited by that slut Tran Hu Hu? Why don't you acknowledge your mother? You came out of your mother's womb. The grace of birth is greater than the heavens. You cannot be so ungrateful. Come here quickly, son, don't stand with that woman anymore. You are your mother's son. Son's face is getting colder and colder. What nonsense are you talking about? I only have one mother, and that is Tran Hu Hu. My mother-in-law, who had been standing there frozen, finally came to her senses. She tugged on her grandson's sleeve and reminded him in a low voice. My eldest grandson, have you forgotten what I said? Tran Hu Hu is not your biological mother. Your mother is Kyo Kyo. How can you be so stupid when you study well? Hurry up and go and claim your biological mother. My son shook her hand away, his voice extremely firm. My mother is Tran Hu Hu, not Kyo Kyo. Who gave birth to me, don't I know? Looking at the grandmother who had taken care of him for so many years, the son still had a hint of disappointment in his eyes. He never expected that the grandmother he once loved would actually collude with outsiders to bully his mother. This is your biological mother. How can you treat your biological mother like this? You unfilial son, today I will beat you to death. Lu Jiayang went crazy and rushed forward to slap his son. Seeing him coming with a fierce expression, I quickly blocked in front of my son. Lu Jiayang, this is my son. If you dare to touch a single hair on him, I will make sure you don't live in peace. The power imbalance between men and women is already great, and I was quickly pushed to the ground by Luke Jia Duong. He raised his hand, intending to slap my son in the face, but this time he was unsuccessful. My son, now a tall young man, raised his hand and grabbed Lu Jiayang's wrist. His hand was immediately held in midair, unable to move any further. Immediately after, my son pushed hard, and Lu Jiayang stumbled back a few steps, falling headfirst into a waiter. The waiter looked weak and immediately fell on top of Lu Jiayang, creating a chaotic scene. Mom, are you okay? My son quickly helped me up and asked worriedly. I shook my head, then turned to look at the waiter who had just been pulled over by Lu Jiayang. The more I looked, the more I felt that person was very familiar. It's just, where have I seen him before? My eldest grandson, what exactly happened? Didn't you know? Why didn't you acknowledge your biological mother? My mother-in-law was taken aback, trying to figure out why things had turned out like this. She had clearly told her grandson about his background before, and he also knew who his biological parents were. Looking at her eyes filled with longing for the truth, I thought, it's time to let them know the whole story. Mom, thank you for taking care of my son all these years. I pulled my son towards me. My mother and I have very similar facial features. Anyone who sees us can tell that we are biological mother and daughter. My mother-in-law is treating people. Why? She still hasn't had time to react to why I'm so calm today. The first one to go crazy was Kyo Kyo. She had already guessed something. She rushed straight towards me, shouting and confronting me. Tran Hu Hu, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? If it's your son, then where is my son? What have you done to my son? I just found it funny. Your son, how would I know? I don't even know who you are, let alone have met your son. How could you tell me where your son is? Not getting an answer from me, Kyo Kyo immediately turned to grab her mother-in-law, screaming hysterically. Was it you who did that back then? Didn't you say you switched my son with Tran Hu Hu's son? So where is my son? My mother-in-law looked bewildered, looking at her son standing next to me, not knowing what to do. I already switched. This child is clearly hers, and she still dares to say it is mine. She must think I am blind. When she found out her child had been switched, Kyo Kyo went completely crazy, screaming and pushing my mother-in-law. Tell me, where is my child? You damn woman. What did you do to my child? That child was the one I carried for 10 months. But my mother-in-law is not a gentle person. Being touched by Kyo Kyo, she also lost her patience and immediately fought back. Back then it was because you two discussed it among yourselves before I did it. Now that something has happened, you turn around and blame it all on me? So tell me, where did you take my child? You two were like crazy, rushing in to tear each other apart in fight. Looking at the two stupid and evil people fighting each other like crazy, I felt extremely satisfied. Those who are both stupid and evil will sooner or later harm themselves. At this moment Luke Jia-duong, who was lying on the ground, gradually understood everything. The person standing here today who was accepted into Tan Hoa school was Tran Hu Hu's son. That meant that he had sold his own child with his own hands. The child he and Kyo Kyo had given birth to was given to the human traffickers by him. Luke Jia-duong sat on the ground, panicking to the point of insanity, continuously punching himself in the face. It's all my fault. Because of me. I can't even recognize my biological child from Kyo Kyo. I deserve to die. If I wasn't possessed by a ghost, how could I have sold my own son? Sir, let me help you up. The waiter, who was pushed down by Luke Jia-duong, still politely bent down to help him up. But who would have thought that Lu Jiayong, in a fit of rage, regardless of right or wrong, grabbed the waiter and beat and cursed him, venting his anger on an innocent person. Why wasn't that bitch Chun Hui's son sold away? My son, where's my son? I originally intended to run over to save the innocent waiter, but when I saw his face clearly, I suddenly stopped. Guess his face looked very familiar. Just where have I seen him before? That face is clearly the face of the son that Xiao Qiao and Luke Jia-duong gave birth to in their previous life. Even though he is now much thinner than in their previous life, and his skin is also several tones darker, that face is deeply engraved in my memory. This is the biological son of Luke Jia-duong and Xiao Qiao. That ungrateful son, unable to distinguish between right and wrong, black and white, that bastard. Thinking of this, I gave up all plans to save people and calmly watched them fight each other, neither side winning. It was not until the police arrived that the fight ended. It turned out that the hotel owner was afraid something big would happen, so he called the police. After finishing the report, my son and I left the police station. Good boy, today your college entrance party was ruined by them. I will make it up to you later. My son shook his head. I don't want to organize anything. I just want to eat the food that my mother cooks. The two of us sitting down to eat together. That's the party I've been waiting for the most. In September, when school started, my son and I went to the capital. He started his first year of university, and I officially took up the position of general manager of the capital branch of the company. It was a long time before I heard any news about my mother-in-law and them. They were sentenced to 3 years in prison for child trafficking. The mother-in-law was too frugal and refused to go to the doctor when she was sick, so she died in prison before being in prison for a year. The son who had rolled his eyes in his previous life was the biological son of Luke Jia-duong, and Kyo Kyo T in a fierce battle with his father. His head hit the edge of the table. Even though he was taken to the hospital in time, he still became a fool for life. After finishing his 3 years in prison, Luke Jia-duong received a notice that the son he had personally sold had been found. The couple rushed to the police station, but unexpectedly, the person was the waiter who was beaten to the point of unconsciousness by Luke Jia-duong at the party that day, his and Kyo Kyo's biological son. Before she could react, Xiao Qiao had already rushed over and was tearing Lu Jiayong apart, screaming madly. Lu Jiayong, more than 20 years ago you sold your son, and 3 years ago you beat him into a fool with your own hands. You have to compensate my son. You have to compensate for my healthy child. Luke Jia-duong was beaten to the point that he could only hold his head and run away. When he came to, he remembered that it was Kyo Kyo who first came up with the plan to make porridge for the child. His anger flared up, and combined with the hatred of being imprisoned for 3 years, he roared. If you hadn't come up with that stupid child swap, I wouldn't have had the intention of exchanging my son. It was also you who incited me to sell the baby, otherwise my son wouldn't have to suffer such a miserable fate. The two of them rushed at each other again, fighting fiercely, their faces bruised. Their silly son stood beside them, clapping his hands and laughing happily, muttering, "Well played, well played." Luke Jia-duong saw his son, whom he had longed for all these years, now drooling and clapping his hands foolishly, feeling extremely regretful. Humph, if it weren't for you seducing me, I wouldn't have divorced Tran Hu, and wouldn't have given birth to this stupid child. It's all your fault, you cheap knitter. It's also my child. Why did Tran Hu's child end up in Tan Hoa, and yours end up like this? Lu Jiayong, what right do you have to insult my son? Because the fight at the police station caused serious consequences, both of them were detained for another 15 days. The incident was so shocking that it was on the social news, and the media reported it everywhere. I came home from the market and saw my son hurriedly turn off the TV and run out to catch the spilled bag from my hand. Mom, let me cook today. You should start enjoying your leisurely life. My child doesn't know that while I was at the market, I heard people gossiping. The whole country knows about the Liu Jiayong family. Everyone spits on them and despises them. I looked up at my son's busy figure in the kitchen, and an indescribable happiness welled up in my heart. Today, I finally truly felt the word happiness. That was the end of the story. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more interesting stories. Goodbye and see you again.